March 9th, 1942, Washington, D.C. I stand in the War Department office, my role as Commanding General of the new Army Service Forces clear from the start. The stacked ration crate on the table serves as a reminder of the basics we must deliver. Reports show we shipped 2 million tons of supplies last year alone, but demands grow with each theater opening. The weight of coordination presses as I review the charts, knowing every allocation affects the front. Europe calls for more. The Pacific pulls harder, and resources stretch thin. I adjust the crate, feeling the grain of wood under my fingers, a simple object holding the key to sustainment. Tension builds in the quiet room as choices narrow between priorities. We centralize control to balance it all, drawing from industry and ports. The mechanism must hold, or the machine stops. Sweat beads on my brow despite the cool air. Does this setup hold through the war? In early 1942, the War Department reorganized under pressure from global demands. General Bracken B. Somerville took command of the newly formed Army Service Forces. This unit consolidated supply, procurement, and logistics under one roof. It oversaw the Quartermaster Corps, along with engineers, signal, medical, ordnance, chemical warfare, and transportation services. Our headquarters in Washington coordinated with ports, factories, and overseas theaters. The challenge started with America's entry into the war. Resources were limited at first. Industry shifted from civilian to military production. We managed supply chains for 2 major theaters, Europe and the Pacific, plus support for allies. The Quartermaster Corps handled Class 1 through IV items, food, clothing, fuel, and general supplies. We allocated amid shortages, prioritizing frontline units. By 1943, the system ramped up. We shipped supplies to North Africa for Operation Torch, then to Sicily and Italy. In the Pacific, we supported island-hopping campaigns. Ports like New York and San Francisco became hubs. Trains and trucks moved goods inland before ocean transport. Key metrics defined our effort. From December 1941 to December 1945, the Army shipped 132 million measurement tons of cargo overseas. This included everything from rations to ammunition. The Quartermaster Corps alone accounted for 37 million measurement tons. In 1944 peak year, we moved 48 million measurement tons total. We balanced constraints, steel shortages, affected vehicle production. Rubber was rationed after Japan cut supplies. We turned to synthetic alternatives. Allocation boards decided priorities. For example, Europe got more heavy equipment, the Pacific more fuel for long distances. The centralized model streamlined decisions. Before, services competed for resources. Now, one command prevented waste. We used data from field reports to adjust flows. This kept armies moving despite Axis disruptions. Reality check number 1. Total Army cargo shipped. 132 million measurement tons, U.S. Merchant Marine records, Army control data. We built depots worldwide. In England, stockpiles grew for D-Day. In Australia, bases supported MacArthur. The weight of these numbers pressed on every plan. We measured success in tons delivered, not just produced. This foundation supported operations that turned the tide. Our work in the Army Service Forces centered on a core principle. Strategic allocation of limited resources had to meet the demands of multiple fronts. We faced constraints in materials, shipping, and manpower. Yet, we balanced them to keep units supplied. The Quartermaster Corps played a key role. It managed food, fuel, clothing, and equipment. We centralized decisions to avoid waste. This meant prioritizing shipments based on operational needs. For example, Europe required heavy artillery supplies. The Pacific needed more fuel for vast distances. We used data from field commanders to adjust flows. This process built efficiency. It turned scarcity into sustainment. The mechanism relied on coordination. We linked factories, ports, and theaters. Contracts with industry ensured steady production. Rail and sea transport moved the goods. We tracked every ton to prevent bottlenecks. This approach created a model for future operations. Centralized control allowed quick responses to changes. It influenced post-war logistics. Today's military sustainment draws from these methods. Unified commands handle global needs with similar systems. The legacy lies in that balance. We turned constraints into strength. The stacked ration crate symbolized it all. Simple, yet essential to victory. Our choices ensured armies could fight without pause. This framework proved that logistics wins wars as much as battles. June of '44. Supreme Headquarters Allied Expeditionary Force, London. I sit at the conference table, maps spread before me, as reports from Normandy beaches flood in. The invasion has begun, but supply lines stretch thin across the channel. My staff briefs me on the latest allocations. We have 1.5 million troops to sustain, with fuel demands hitting 800,000 gallons daily in the European theater. The stacked ration crate in the corner mocks the simplicity of our task, yet holds the weight of decisions that could stall the advance. I lean forward, pencil in hand, marking priorities. Europe gets the bulk, but the Pacific commanders wire urgent pleas for more. Steel for vehicles competes with ammunition runs. I recall the constraints from '42, when rubber shortages nearly halted truck production. Now, synthetic plants ramp up, but not fast enough. The room hums with typewriters and low voices. A colonel slides a folder across. General, port capacity at Cherbourg is projected at 15,000 tons per day once captured. But until then, beachheads handle only 7,000. I nod, feeling the pressure build. Every ton misallocated means a division short on sea rations or gasoline. We centralize the flow. I issue orders to redirect 200,000 tons from stateside depots to Liverpool for transshipment. The Quartermaster Corps coordinates with the Navy for convoy protection. Tension rises as I consider the risks. U-boats still prowl the Atlantic, and weather reports predict storms that could delay sailings. I stand, walk to the window. Rain streaks the glass, mirroring the uncertainty. Do we push more to Patton's Third Army, racing ahead, or bolster Montgomery's cautious push? The choice presses, knowing lives hang on it. A aide enters with cables from the field. Sir, First Army reports fuel stocks at 60%. They need 300,000 gallons by week's end. I return to the table, stack the papers like those ration crates. We balance it by cutting non-essentials. Luxury items drop from shipments, freeing space for bullets and bandages. The mechanism clicks into place. Contracts with U.S. factories ensure steady output. Rail lines feed the ports, ships cross under escort. But the human element weighs. Depot workers labor 12-hour shifts, loading crates by hand in the rain. I dictate the response. Allocate 250,000 gallons from reserve stocks. Reroute 2 Liberty ships from the Mediterranean run. The room quiets as orders go out. Sweat dampens my collar despite the chill. This is the craft of logistics, unseen but essential. A single delay ripples to the front, where soldiers wait for the next meal or tank refill. The stacked crate reminds me of the basics. Food sustains morale. Fuel drives momentum. We build the chain link by link. By evening, confirmations arrive. Ships sail on schedule. Trucks roll from French beaches inland. The tension eases slightly, but never fully. Tomorrow brings new demands. I rub my eyes, think of the men in the mud relying on these choices. The war machine turns on such moments, quiet decisions in dim rooms that enable the thunder of battle. August 1944. The turning point came with the breakout from Normandy. Patton's Third Army raced east, consuming fuel at rates we hadn't fully anticipated. Daily demand spiked to 400,000 gallons, straining our pipelines and truck convoys. Weather played its part too. Heavy rains turned French roads to mud, slowing deliveries from beaches to depots. Enemy action added pressure. German counterattacks hit supply trains, destroying 50,000 tons in 1 week near Saint-Lô. I received the cable in my office. Fuel critical. Advance halted without resupply. It came from the front, signed by a logistics officer in the field. This shift forced a command decision. We had to reroute ships from the Pacific, cutting allocations there by 20%. The Pacific commanders protested, but Europe took priority as the main effort. Resources stretched, with rubber stocks low and steel diverted to tank repairs. We adjusted the mechanism. Centralized boards met daily, reviewing field data. We increased synthetic fuel production stateside, ramping output by 15% in a month. Ports like Antwerp, once captured, promised relief.
Absolutely.
But until then, we relied on the Red Ball Express. Trucks ran round the clock, covering 100 miles per run. The strain showed in reports of driver fatigue and vehicle breakdowns. This inflection tested our model. What had been balanced allocation became urgent reallocation. We drew from reserves built over years, shipping 1 million tons extra to Europe that quarter. The command structure held, preventing chaos. Yet the human cost weighed. Depot crews worked without rest, stacking crates in the rain. The moment defined our approach. We adapted, centralizing further to respond. It showed that constraints could be managed, but not without trade-offs. The Pacific waited longer for supplies, slowing operations there. In the end, the advance resumed, but the lesson stuck. Logistics bent under pressure, yet didn't break. I touched the stacked ration crate on my desk, its wood worn from handling, a reminder of the basics amid the storm. One common belief held that American logistics in World War II succeeded through sheer abundance alone, without need for careful planning. People thought our industry produced so much that supplies flowed without constraint. This overlooks the reality of shortages and the need for precise allocation. Records show otherwise. In 1943, rubber supplies dropped after Japan seized sources in Southeast Asia. We rationed tires and turned to synthetic production, but output lagged. Steel competed between ships, tanks, and ammunition. The Quartermaster Corps managed this through priority boards, deciding what went where based on field needs. For instance, during the buildup for Overlord, we allocated 70% of heavy trucks to Europe, leaving the Pacific with lighter models. This wasn't excess. It was calculated choice amid limits. Memoirs from logistics officers, like those in the U.S. Army Greenbooks, detail how we balanced against Axis disruptions, such as U-boat attacks sinking 2.7 million tons of cargo in 1942. The fact is, success came from centralized control, not unlimited resources. We tracked every ton, adjusting flows weekly. Evidence from NARA records in RG 336 confirms that without this, fronts would have stalled. Abundance helped, but strategy sustained the fight. Reality check number 3. Total cargo lost to enemy action. 14 million deadweight tons. U.S. Merchant Marine Historical Data. November 1944, Paris Liberation Headquarters. I paced the dimly lit room, the air thick with cigarette smoke, and the faint scent of wet wool from rain-soaked coats. The stacked ration crate serves as an improvised table, holding maps marked with supply routes snaking through liberated France. Patton's advance has outrun our projections. His tanks guzzling 350,000 gallons daily now. Reports stack up, each one a plea for more. My aide spreads the latest cables. General Third Army's depots are at 40%. They request priority on fuel over ammunition. I stop, hand on the crate's rough edge, feeling the splinters under my palm. The wood grounds me amid the chaos. Europe pulls hard, but MacArthur's push in the Philippines can't wait. The Pacific needs ships we diverted last month. Tension coils in my chest. A quiet weight as I weigh lives against miles. I sit, pull the crate closer. The Quartermaster Corps tallies show we've shipped 12 million tons to Europe this year. But bottlenecks at Antwerp port slow the flow to 20,000 tons daily. Weather reports warn of early snow, threatening roads already churned to mud by convoys. I recall the 42 shortages, when we scraped for every barrel. Now, industry hums, but distribution tests us. A colonel enters, face drawn. Sir, U-boat sightings off the coast. 2 Liberty ships lost. 5,000 tons gone. The room stills. I nod, suppress the urge to grip the crate harder. This is the craft, balancing loss with push. We centralize the response, rerouting from New York to safer lanes. But the human strain shows. Dock workers in the States load crates through nights, their backs bent like those in the field. I dictate orders, cut luxury rations by 10%, free space for gasoline, redirect 150,000 tons from Mediterranean stocks to the channel ports. The mechanism turns, contracts with refineries ensuring output, rails feeding the docks, escorts guarding the seas. Yet doubt lingers. Will this hold the line for winter? By dawn, confirmations trickle in. Ships sail, trucks roll from beaches to railheads. The stacked crate remains, a silent witness to choices made in the quiet hours. I lean back, the pressure easing slightly. Soldiers in the mud depend on this unseen work. The war's rhythm beats here, in allocations and adjustments. A single misstep ripples outward, stalling advances we can't afford. The rain taps the window, a steady reminder of constraints beyond control. I rub my temples, think of the men waiting for the next delivery. This moment, somber and solitary, defines the sustainment. We build victory not with glory, but with persistence. From the beaches of Normandy to the German border, our tactical choices scaled up to strategic impact. In late 1944, as armies pushed east, micro decisions on allocation rippled outward. A single reroute of fuel convoys could enable a division's advance or leave it stalled. We saw this in the Red Ball Express, where trucks delivered 9,000 tons in its first month alone. But the macro view showed the full system at work. Terrain shaped everything. The Ardennes forests and rivers created choke points, where mud from fall rains slowed rail repairs. We mapped supply routes by voice in briefings. describing the Seine crossings as vital arteries, with alternate paths through Belgium if bridges failed. Weather added layers, fog-grounded airdrops, forcing more reliance on ground transport. Communication lines via SCR 508 radios in depots relayed needs from the front to ports in real time. Logistics tied it all. We centralized procurement, drawing from U.S. factories, producing 50,000 tons of rations monthly.
That one looks low.
Ships crossed the Atlantic in convoys, dodging U-boats that sank 200,000 tons that year. Once ashore, rail networks in France, rebuilt by engineers, moved 25,000 tons daily from Cherbourg to forward depots. Trucks bridged the last miles, with fuel efficiency calculated at 1.5 miles per gallon for heavy loads. This connected micro to macro. A quartermaster's choice to prioritize gasoline over food for Patton's tanks allowed the Third Army to cover 400 miles in weeks. But it meant infantry units went on reduced rations, 2,500 calories instead of 3,500. The strain showed in reports of equipment wear, with tire replacements spiking 30% from rough roads. We balanced against constraints. Rubber shortages limited new trucks, so we repaired old ones on site. Steel went to landing craft first, delaying bridge kits. The command model let us adjust. Data from field logs fed back to Washington, where boards reallocated based on metrics like ton miles shipped, hitting 1 billion by war's end. The macro legacy emerged here. Our centralized sustainment influenced global operations, supporting simultaneous pushes in Europe and the Pacific. Without it, D-Day stockpiles, 7 million tons in England, wouldn't have sustained the breakout. The system prevented collapse, turning limited resources into continuous flow. Reality check number 3. Total supplies shipped by Army service forces, 89 million tons globally, U.S. Army Green Books, Quartermaster Corps volumes. This analysis showed how small allocations built the big picture. We mapped victory 1 ton at a time, from depot to foxhole. December 1944, Ardennes Forest Sector, Belgium. I hunker in the temporary command post, a requisitioned farmhouse near Bastogne, the air sharp with pine and gunpowder smoke. The German offensive has hit hard, their panzers pushing through snow-covered roads, catching our lines off guard. My role demands I stay back in Washington, but urgency pulls me forward for this inspection, coordinating from the edge. The stacked ration crate beside me holds emergency maps, its lid creaking under the weight of cables, reporting shortages everywhere. Reports flood the radio. Fuel depots overrun, 2 million gallons captured or destroyed. Patton's counterattack needs 500,000 gallons daily to pivot north, but snowstorms ground air resupply, leaving trucks mired in drifts. I lean over the table, pencil scratching allocations, feeling the chill seep through the walls. The Quartermaster Corps scrambles stateside, ramping shipments to 60,000 tons weekly through Antwerp, now cleared but under artillery threat. Tension builds as I weigh the calls. Eisenhower demands priority for the bulge, while Pacific bases wire for diverted stocks. A colonel bursts in, snow melting on his boots. General, 9th Army's advance stalled. They need 100,000 tons rerouted from the Rhine buildup. I nod, hand steady on the crate, but my mind races. This is the peak, where constraints collide with necessity. We centralized for moments like this, but the human strain shows. Dock workers in New York load ships through blizzards, their shifts extended to 16 hours. Here, depot crews dig out buried crates, fingers numb, stacking them for distribution under fire. I dictate the pivot. Cut Mediterranean allocations by 30%. Redirect to channel ports. Push synthetic fuel output to 200,000 barrels monthly. The mechanism strains, but holds. Contracts with refineries feed the pipeline. Rails converge on docks. Convoys brave U-boat waters. Yet doubt presses, a quiet ache in my chest. Lives balance on these numbers. A delayed convoy means divisions immobile, exposed in the snow. Outside, artillery rumbles, a distant thunder echoing our efforts. I step to the door, watch trucks grind through slush, headlights piercing the dusk. Soldiers unload crates by lantern light, their breaths clouding the air. This climax tests the model we built. Back in '42, we consolidated to avoid chaos. Now, it enables the surge. We ship million tons globally by year's end, but here, each ton fights the elements. An aide confirms, ships en route, 300,000 tons inbound. Relief edges the tension, but not fully. I return to the crate, trace its edges, worn from countless hands. This object, simple and sturdy, mirrors our craft. Stacked, allocated, delivered amid storm. The war turns on such persistence, quiet decisions enabling the roar of counteroffensive. By dawn, flows resume. Patton moves, the bulge bends. The pressure peaks in that frozen night, choices made in dim light, sustaining the push. We balance the impossible, turning scarcity into momentum. The human cost weighs, but the chain holds. Soldiers in foxholes receive the crates, their contents fueling the fight. This moment, somber and defining, reveals logistics as the unseen force. We build victory layer by layer, like those stacked crates, each one a step toward the Rhine. The snow falls heavier, muffling the guns. I rub my hands for warmth, think of the men depending on our precision. The climax passes not in glory, but in persistence, the system proving its worth under maximum strain. January 1945, the bulge recedes. German forces retreat, leaving wrecked vehicles and spent shells in the snow. Our allocations held the line, fuel and rations flowing despite the chaos. Patton's Third Army advances again, consuming 400,000 gallons daily as they push to the Rhine. We shipped 3 million tons to Europe that winter quarter, a surge that turned defense into offense. The ripple spreads, centralized control proved its value, preventing breakdowns that plagued earlier campaigns. In the Pacific, delayed shipments slowed Leyte operations, but the model adapted, reallocating 20% more to MacArthur by spring. Lessons emerge in doctrine. We refine sustainment plans, emphasizing data-driven boards for future conflicts. The Quartermaster Corps expands training, teaching officers to balance constraints like we did. Metrics tell the story. Total supplies delivered by Army service forces reached 89 million tons globally by war's end. In Europe alone, 56 million tons supported the final push. These numbers influence post-war logistics. NATO adopts similar centralized systems, unifying Allied flows. U.S. military reforms in 1947 draw from our experience, creating the Defense Logistics Agency. The human legacy lingers. Workers in depots, drivers on roads, all part of the chain that enabled victory. Constraints taught efficiency. turning scarcity into strategy. The stacked ration crate, symbol of basics, becomes a teaching tool in academies. Our work builds enduring models where allocation wins wars quietly. In the quiet aftermath, I reflect on the chain we forged. Allocations that seemed routine in Washington rippled to foxholes and beaches, sustaining the push through every storm and shortage. The Army Service Forces delivered 89 million tons, a testament to craft under constraint. This model endures, shaping how militaries balance needs today. Centralized decisions turned scarcity into victory, honoring the workers who stacked the crates and the soldiers who unpacked them. The stacked ration crate stands as our quiet monument, holding the weight of wars won through persistence.